Picture this, you're outside on a cool evening, expecting a normal night sky, only to see the atmosphere above you ignite in a breathtaking display of shimmering lights. The colors are incredible, greens, reds, purples, and yellows, and they dance across the sky in a way that feels almost otherworldly. But this is no magic. It's a cosmic phenomenon, an aurora lighting up the skies far beyond its usual home, near the poles. In the past few days, this rare spectacle has been seen in places as far south as Virginia in the United States and as far north as the suburbs of Berlin and London, all thanks to the sun and a particular event known as a coronal mass ejection, or CME. You might be wondering what causes this fascinating phenomenon. It all starts nearly 93 million miles away from Earth, on the surface of the sun. The sun is constantly boiling with plasma and magnetic activity, and it occasionally releases massive bursts of energy and matter. A CME is one of those bursts, a huge cloud of solar plasma accompanied by a magnetic field, flung into space at incredible speeds. When one of these CMEs is directed towards Earth, and the conditions are just right, it interacts with our planet's magnetic field, creating what scientists call a geomagnetic storm. And when that storm is strong enough, it manifests as auroras, the northern and southern lights dancing across the sky. But what made this particular storm so special? To start with, this CME was launched from a region of the sun that was facing directly towards Earth, making it a near-perfect hit. As the charged solar particles hit Earth's magnetic field, they caused a geomagnetic storm that was rated G4 on the scale used by scientists. That's just one step down from the most severe classification, G5. Earlier this year, back in May, we saw a G5 storm, which caused similar aurora displays across the globe. These were seen by skygazers from North America to Europe, and even down to parts of Australia and New Zealand. And now, just a few months later, we were treated to yet another one of nature's most captivating light shows. One of the lucky ones who saw it all happen was Professor Jim Wild, a space physicist from Lancaster University. Jim Wild isn't just some casual observer. He's a space physicist who has dedicated his career to studying the effects of space weather, particularly how solar storms like these can disrupt modern technology on Earth. Normally, Wild would have to travel all the way to the Arctic Circle to catch a glimpse of the northern lights. But on this particular night, the show came to him. From the comfort of his own home in Lancaster, England, Wild could see the sky above his garden light up in an otherworldly glow. But like many aurora enthusiasts, staying put wasn't enough. He quickly got his family into the car and headed out to find darker skies, away from the city lights, where the display would be even more vivid. As Wild and his family drove along the quiet country roads, they weren't alone. It seemed like everyone had heard about the aurora. There were cars all along the roads, and people had gathered at viewpoints with thermoses of hot coffee and chairs, all trying to get a better look at the celestial spectacle. Wild said the atmosphere was like something out of a science fiction movie, specifically Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He said people gather under the stars, eyes wide with wonder, as they witness something far beyond the ordinary. For Wild, the night was extra special because he got to share it with his children, explaining the science behind the lights while they marveled at the show. As we said before, this event wasn't limited to the far north. The auroras were visible across a wide range of latitudes, lighting up skies in places where they're rarely seen. In parts of Europe, people as far south as Berlin and London had their own unexpected light show, while in the United States, residents in states like Virginia caught glimpses of the northern lights, which are typically seen in places much farther north, like Alaska or Canada. In the Southern Hemisphere, the aurora australis, or southern lights, put on a show of their own, lighting up the skies in Australia and New Zealand. These widespread auroras were a rare treat, reminding us just how interconnected the solar system can be. The amazing visuals we see from space are great for us here on Earth, but they can also be a sign that our technology is having trouble. When CMEs and other solar storms reach Earth, they don't just create pretty lights. They can also have some pretty serious consequences for our satellites, communication systems, and even power grids. The charged particles from the sun can mess with satellites in orbit, messing up GPS systems and satellite communications. In extreme cases, these geomagnetic storms can even cause widespread power outages, as the surge of energy from the storm overloads transformers and electrical grids. Fortunately, most of the time, these effects are mild, but in rare cases, they can be pretty devastating. The recent geomagnetic storm, while not as severe as the Carrington event, did prompt warnings from the U.S. Space Weather Prediction Center. They warned that the storm could disrupt emergency services, especially in areas already dealing with the aftermath of hurricanes like Helene and Milton. While there were no immediate problems, experts say that the effects of these storms can sometimes take days to become apparent. This shows that while space weather may seem far removed from our everyday lives, it can have very real and very immediate impacts on the systems we rely on. As the storm gradually died down, the amazing auroras began to move further north, back to their usual spots in places like central Sweden, northern Canada, and Alaska. If you missed out on this week's light show, don't worry, we'll see more events like this in the future. Solar activity follows an 11-year cycle, and we're currently nearing or at the peak of that cycle. Historically, the largest and most dramatic solar eruptions have occurred within 2 years of the solar maximum, so we could be in for more aurora displays in the near future. If you've been chasing the northern lights without much luck, keep your eyes to the skies in the coming months. The sun isn't done with its light show just yet. One of the most intriguing aspects of auroras is that, despite being influenced by space weather, they remain unpredictable. Just like the weather on Earth can change in an instant, solar storms and their effects can catch scientists off guard. Even though we have some pretty sophisticated tools to monitor solar activity, space weather isn't an exact science. We can estimate when CMEs will hit, how strong the geomagnetic storm will be, and what areas might see auroras. But in the end, nature has the final say. The unpredictability only adds to the excitement. There's always an element of mystery when it comes to chasing the northern or southern lights. Many people consider seeing an aurora to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. People often travel to remote locations, sometimes multiple times, in the hope of catching a glimpse of these fleeting lights. But as Professor Wild's neighbors found out, the best moments often happen when you least expect them. After traveling to Norway twice to see the northern lights, only to be foiled by clouds both times, they finally got their moment of wonder right from their own backyard. It's a great reminder that nature's most extraordinary moments often come when we're not looking for them. This recent aurora display has once again got people around the world talking, reminding us that while we may live in an age of technology, the universe still has ways of surprising us. It doesn't matter if you're a scientist who studies these things or just someone who's never seen the northern lights before. There's something magical about the idea that the sun's activity can create such stunning and unexpected beauty right here on Earth. So the next time you hear about a solar storm, don't just think about the potential disruptions it could cause. Think about the incredible light show it might bring to a night sky near you. While this storm wasn't the strongest we've seen, it came at just the right time. The CME eruptions came from a spot on the sun's surface that was facing directly at Earth, so we got the full brunt of its effects. But with more solar storms expected as we reach the peak of this cycle, there's a chance we'll see even more intense auroras. When those lights start dancing again, we'll be reminded once more of just how vast and interconnected our universe is. The auroras, after all, are more than just light shows. They're a tangible connection between Earth and the cosmos, a reminder of the forces at play beyond our atmosphere. The next time a CME is headed our way, make sure to take a few minutes to look up. You don't have to be in the Arctic Circle or the southern tip of New Zealand to see one of these amazing light shows in the sky. Even if you're not in an area where auroras are common, a big storm at the right time could paint your sky with color. When it does, it's an experience you'll never forget, one that crosses borders and brings people together to admire the same awe-inspiring sky. And for those of you who are still waiting for your chance, don't lose hope. Solar storms are as unpredictable as they are awe-inspiring. Each one carries the potential for awe-inspiring auroras, and as we move further into this solar cycle, more opportunities will arise. Whether you're planning a trip to the north or keeping an eye on space weather forecasts, remember that sometimes the most magical experiences come when you least expect them. So keep looking up. You never know when the universe might decide to put on a show just for you.